Welcome back to The Watch. Today we're going to be delving a little bit into Doctor Who. Now, for some of you may not know, I was quite a big Doctor Who fan. I love Doctor Who. I loved the David Tennant era the most, and the Matt Smith era I liked as well. I even liked the Eccleston first season of the reboot. I even liked a little bit of Capaldi's era. After that, though, I was just not feeling it anymore. And they ended up deciding to throw that all out of the window for modern day stuff. The writing on Whittaker's seasons were just...
some of the most terrible writing I think I've ever seen in television.
On the nose, as humanly possible. Like, there's a reason why when a lot of the Doctor Who stuff, when they go back in time, they do, there's an alien invading in 1967, whatever it is, right? Instead, they go, oh, yes, there's an alien trying to do whatever, Rosa Parks. Like,
yeah, there was a whole episode where they basically made Trump.
Yes.
A Trump episode. Like, he wasn't actually Trump, but he was the characterization of what they would consider that.
And we've been through this so many times where it becomes an issue where you go, I want my sci-fi or my fantasy to escape from reality. I don't want to do my politics all day, then go home and watch my entertainment, and instead of being entertained, be lectured.
They've come out with a special, and because I think I reckon there's been such a drop-off from Jodie Whittaker. They're like, we need to bring fans back in before we, bring in the new Doctor. And so they've brought back the amazing duo of Donna and the Doctor, which people, I think, in the modern day
loved.
That has been their favorite. That's been their favorite. It's very funny because despite us thinking, okay, bringing back the original stuff, we're going to get some of the stuff we already love, they've changed it. And they've inserted things into a 2023 lens. Not anymore.
It shouldn't even be a surprise that they do this at this point. It's what they do every time they bring an actor back that people like. It's never the same. It's a humiliation ritual. And they're doing it essentially to go, oh, you liked this thing? You liked this thing? You remember this thing? It's stupid. And you were always stupid for liking it because it was always bad. That's what they're doing.
So Davros is supposed to be, I guess, the creator of the Daleks and stuff like that. And we see him in... I think the last time we saw him was with one of the David Tennant episodes, Stolen Earth, something like that, where he basically is in a half Dalek. I never took it as a wheelchair. If you look at the Daleks, they have wheels and basically half of that he sits in. And I never saw it as like his legs were in there. I saw it as his body was attached to it. But apparently that was seen as making, I don't know, people in wheelchairs villains or something crazy like that, where it's like nobody ever makes that connection. That's crazy. So they actually, from what I've seen, have changed Davros to be a upstanding gentleman. I think this is supposed to be before he creates the Daleks,
right?
Which is also kind of crazy because if you play the laws of Doctor Who, fixed events you can't really change.
Yeah. It's funny, though. So the person in charge of this now is Russell T Davies, and he's spoken about this. And I think, much like the pronoun thing we saw before, this is probably the most on-the-nose thing about what his agenda is in terms of...
Have you got the volume up?
Yeah, we've got the volume up and everything. So we're going to watch this, and you can just see how blatantly... because I feel like other companies and businesses, they're kind of go, we want to be diverse, we'll be inclusive. This one, he's like, it's 2023, we need to be culturally appropriate.
Don't poison the well. Let me listen to it.
Doctor Who Children in Need special wasn't exciting enough. We also got to see the return of one of the most iconic Doctor Who villains, Davros. Davros first appeared in Doctor Who in the 1975 story Genesis of the Daleks. He was depicted as a wheelchair user with a disfigured face and a fanatical dedication to the Daleks.
See, look here. See, if you look at the Daleks, right?
Yeah.
It looks like half of his body is attached to half a Dalek.
Yeah.
He's just standing in it or something.
Because they can fly and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense, especially when you see in the middle of his forehead, he has the same light. Like he's basically trying to turn himself
into a Dalek,
right? That makes sense. I've never once thought to myself, well, he's in a wheelchair, so he's evil.
No, he's a Dalek. He wants to simulate the Daleks. It's just funny the way that even says it was depicted as a man in a wheelchair. He's like, whoa. No, you are not presenting this correctly.
The fact that they actually released that, like they had someone voice those lines.
It gets worse.
But on set today, Davros is looking quite different.
We had long conversations about bringing Davros back because he's a fantastic character. Time and society and culture and taste has moved on, and there's a problem with the Davros of old in that he's a wheelchair user who is evil. And I had problems with that, and a lot of us on the production team had the problems with that, of associating disability with evil. And trust me, there's a very long tradition of this. I'm not blaming people in the past at all, but the world changes, and when the world changes, Doctor Who has to change as well.
We can evolve.
Yeah, good job with that. That's why your ratings are down. So, what a ridiculous
Wait, what does that
take.
even mean? There's a history of that? Does it like
Oh, because, the Doctor was male for a lot of the time.
Right,
He was
well,
toxic. He had...
in the context he was talking about, it's as if there is a history of people associating people in wheelchairs with being evil.
Yeah.
It's weird that you've kind of thought of that.
Also,
though.
I mean,
like
there were a
the
lot
whole-
of logical jumps for him to think that people would think that.
It's like the whole orcs and race thing that people have said, we should make orcs evil because that's racist. And you're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
What are you saying?
What
Nobody's saying that.
What are you assuming here?
Also, are you saying that people in wheelchairs can't be evil? Like,
Well-
ever?
The comments, once we finish this clip, I'll show the comments. People are not happy about this at all, especially the
Well,
wheelchair users.
It doesn't fit the lore. It has
No.
nothing to do with modern politics. It just doesn't fit the lore.
No.
It's so so out of left field. What?
I mean,
I'm
literally,
just trying
yes.
to catch up here with my brain. Like, well, we're at the production thing. It's like, well, he's in a wheelchair and he's evil. So
That's a problem.
So therefore, people will associate. It's like I don't look at
Not-
Sauron and think tall people are evil.
exactly, it's not once anybody going like, "Whoa, this guy's kind of tall. He might be evil."
It's
He's in a wheelchair.
it's
He's
just
evil.
weird
Nobody's
coming
done
from the
that.
side of people that's constantly like, don't treat this and this person like a monolith. Don't treat these people like a monolith.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, a wheelchair person is evil. People are gonna think they're all evil. It's like I'm not the one treating them like a monolith. You're doing that.
So we made the choice to bring back Davros without the facial scarring and without the wheelchair or his support unit, which functions as a wheelchair. I say this is how we see Davros now. This is what he looks like. This is 2023. This is our lens. This is our eye. Things used to be in black and white. They're not in black and white anymore. And Davros used to look like that, and he looks like this now. And that we are absolutely standing by. I think because it's Children in Need Night, it's a night where issues of disability or otherness or being excluded from society come right to the front of the conversation.
So some comments from this have been, thank you, Russell, for solving a problem with a 5-minute short that didn't exist until you made it. The point he raised about Davros, it was one of the most nonsensical things I've ever heard. I'm a disabled and I use a wheelchair. I've never found an issue with Davros being disabled villain. Please don't change Davros for the sake of it, Russell. Davros being disabled is not outdated, nor is it offensive. I'm disabled. I have cerebral palsy, and I hate this Davros change. When I was young, I always related to Davros because even though he was a ruthless dictator who destroyed millions of lives, I related to anger about his disability. As I got angry with my disability, and I still do. Growing up and still now, I always wanted to be in Doctor Who and talks about stuff. So it's even like it's taking away representation from people.
Well, you know what people would say to comments like that, and I don't agree with this, but this is absolutely the response from people who would agree with this change. It's like, oh, well, that's just your experience, but you can't speak to everybody.
Yeah.
But apparently the director, who is not in a wheelchair, can speak for all of the people in wheelchairs, which is just delightfully nonsensical.
You know what's crazy? I've never spoken about Doctor Who ever since they did this thing because I never thought. I was just so mad. It was like Star Wars. I never thought to make a video on it. So this video, a lot of it's been coming to the forefront, and this is just insane because I genuinely held out hope that maybe one day I could return to Doctor Who, but I'm done with that. I'm done with Doctor Who, man. I have no interest.
This comment here. Davros is a character who loses none of his menace from being disabled. He also isn't defined by his disability. He's defined by his cunning, his tendency, his ruthlessness, and ultimately by his power.
But what are we even defining as disability here? Because the Daleks are organisms inside a suit of armor.
Yeah.
You're not going to sit there and say the Daleks are disabled.
it's like...
It's like saying
they're literally...
that Professor X is disabled or something.
Whoa.
That was out of pocket.
No, I'm just saying... First, it's the Daleks. Disney and Marvel remaking X-Men.
Yep.
Who knows what they're going to do with that? Because, I mean, it's just crazy. For me, it's just crazy how confidently he says, the lens, 2023.
Today we want to change
And he
it.
compares it to black and white. Doctor Who was black and white back in the day. Now we're in color. So we're changing everything
not
else.
Not comparable at all. It's like, oh, technology has changed, therefore I'm making a completely different show.
You know what? Sonic screwdrivers are out of date. We should be using wrenches instead.
Yeah.
Like, it's that level of, what are you on about?
But
It's a justification. It's a cope. It's
It is
cope
a massive cope. And he even just says, like, his rebuttal is, Well, sorry everyone, but this is what I think, and we're doing it this way.
Is there anything else to add? Because I want to.
You
Stop
want
thinking
to
about
get
it.
out of here.
Doctor.
Well, I think that's all we got. So until the very next time we see you, stay on watch.